The table below shows the survey results of 200 people and the average number of minutes they talk on their cell phones each month. So we have number of people. So there are 117 people that talk less than 200 minutes. There are 35 people who talk, there are 35 people who talk 200 to 399 minutes per month. There are 23 people who talk 400 to 50. There are 23 people who talk 400 to 599 minutes per month. There are 25 people who talk 600 or more minutes, and we have the total is 200. So it says a person is selected at random, calculate the probability that the person talked 600 or more minutes. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna let E equal the event that the person selected at random talks 600 or more minutes. And so the probability of E, the probability that the person selected at random talked 600 or more minutes is gonna be 25 over 200. Now we use 25 because there are 25 people that talk 600 or more minutes. And we use 200 because there are 200 people in total. And we could divide this, 25 divided by 200 is 0.125. So the probability that the person talked 600 or more minutes is 0.125. Let's move on. It says two people are selected at random. Calculate the probability that both talked less than 200 minutes. And so let E be the event that both persons selected at random talked less than 200 minutes. And the probability of E is going to be 117 over 200 multiplied by 116 over 199. Now, how do we get that? Well, we know that it says that the probability that both talk less than 200 minutes. Now we have to select two people. So the first one is going to come from the people who talk for less than 200 minutes. That's where the first one is going to come from. Now there are 117 people who talk for less than 100. There are 117 people who talked for less than 200 minutes. And so that's why we have 117 here. And there are a total of 200 people. And so that's why we have 200 here at the bottom. So the probability that the first person selected is the probability that the first person selected talk less than 200 minutes is going to be 117 because there are 117 people who talk less than 200 minutes all over 200, and 200 because there are 200 people in total. Now, we already selected that first person, so we can move that. So since we already selected that first person, that means that it is no longer 200 people, right, to choose from, right? Because we already selected one person. So it's not going to be 200 persons anymore. We selected one person already. So that means we only have 199 people to choose from, all right? And so that's why we have 199 right here, because it's only 199 people to choose from for the second person, right? So there's only 199 persons there's only 199 people left to choose from when selecting the second person. And something else to consider, right? Remember we had 117 people that was a part of the less than 200 minutes. Well, the problem is we already selected one person from this group because they said that both talk less than 200 minutes. So the first person that we selected came from this particular group that had less than 200 minutes. And so that means that we only have 116 people left, right, from this group, right, because we already selected one. And so that's why we have 116 here. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we have the probability of E is going to be 117 all over 200 multiplied by 116 all over 199. When we multiply these two, we get 13,572 all over 39,800. And that's the answer for this particular question. So the probability of E is going to be 13,572 divided by 39,800. Next, it says two people were selected at random. Calculate the probability that one talked. Calculate the probability that one talked 200 to 399 minutes, and the other talked 400 to 599 minutes in any order. And so what we're going to do is we're going to let E be the event that one person selected, talked 200 to 399 minutes, and the other talked 400 to 599 minutes in any order. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, what's the order we're going to choose from first? We're going to say, okay, let's let the first person selected be from the 200 to 399 minutes mark. And so this one is going to be, the first person selected is going to be from 200 to 399. That's going to be the amount of, that's going to be, the first person we choose is going to come from the people who spoke on the phone for 200 to 399 minutes. And then we're going to let the second person be from the people who talked for 400 to 599 minutes. Okay. So that's the first way we could do it. We can say, okay, the first person is going to be from the people who spoke from 200 to 399 minutes. And then we can say the second person is going to come from the people who spoke for 400 to 599 minutes. That's one way to do it. But that's not the only way. There's another way. We can say, okay, well, let's let the first person be from the people who spoke on the phone for 400 to 599 minutes. Okay. And then let's let the second person be from the people who spoke on the phone for 200, right? 200 to 399 minutes. Okay. And so that's how we're gonna answer this question. So let's say, let's work on this one. So let's say we want to figure out the probability that the first person selected came from the people who spoke on the phone from 200 to 399 minutes. That means that it's going to be 35 over 200. And it's 35 over 200 because it's 35 people who spoke on the phone for 200 to 309. It's 35 because there are 35 people who spoke on the phone for 200 to 300 to 399 minutes. And so that's why we have 35 here, because there are 35 people who spoke on the phone for 200 to 399 minutes. Now we have 200 because there are 200 people in total, all right? Next, so that's the probability that the first person selected comes from the people who spoke on the phone from 200 to 399 minutes. Now we have to select the next person, and the next person comes from the people who spoke for 400 to 599 minutes, and that's 23 people. So that's why we have 23 people here. But there are only 199 people to choose from because we already selected one person already. So we only have 199 persons left. And so the probability that the second person comes from the group of people who spoke on the phone for 400 to 599 minutes is going to be 23 over 199. Next, this one is the probability that the first person selected comes from the group of people who spoke on the phone for 400 to 599 minutes. And that amount is 23 because there are 23 people. And we put it over 200 because there are 200 people in total, okay? So the probability that the first person selected comes from the group of people who spoke on the phone from 400 to 599 minutes is 23 over 200. Next, we have to select the second person. And well, the second person must come from the group of people who spoke on the phone for 200 to 399 minutes. And that group of people, there are 35 people in that group. So that's why we have 35. But we choose 199 to put at the bottom because there are only 199 people left because we already selected one person already. So there's only 199 persons left. And so the probability that the second person selected comes from the group of persons who spoke on the phone from 200 to 399 minutes is 35 over 199. And so let's compute. So what do we have? we have 35 times 23, that's 805. 200 times 199, that's 39,800. 23 times 35 is 805. And 200 times 199 is 39,800. We add these two and we get 1,610 divided by 39,800. And this right here is the answer to our question.